morning, humanity. It's April 5th, 2021, and it's our favorite time of the week because it's Mondays with Bev and Paul. Hey, everybody, this is Paul.
Oh, good morning. This is Bev.
Hello, Bev.
Hello, Paul.
Happy April.
Oh, spring has sprung.
Spring has sprung. Yes, all the mesquite trees have all the little flowers in the acacia trees,
Oh,
and it's
sneezing,
the
coughing.
cottonwoods are getting ready to explode. That little cotton stuff that gets up into your
Oh,
nose.
I know. Wow.
So we hope you all had a wonderful Easter, Good Friday, and we certainly had a wonderful Paul's 70th birthday.
We
Woohoo!
did. Wow. That was awesome.
Yeah, so I want to personally thank everyone out there who donated to the benefit of to BioTouch in honor of my birthday. We actually came up with $3,333. Now, that's an
What a
amazing
perfect
number, right?
number.
Oh, I mean, every little bit helped. We got a that's just awesome. That's really going to
I
help the
know.
foundation go this next phase of getting this technique out there to humanity. So,
Yep.
from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank everybody for celebrating my birthday that way. And all the I think I had like 150 people saying happy birthday. It was an
That's
awesome day.
great.
Awesome day. So that was birth. We're going to talk about death and biotouch healing. So
Whoa.
yeah, so we just celebrated death and resurrection, and so let's talk about this thing about of death. And you were talking about how that's a big part of fear and a lot of the readings that you've done.
Oh, yeah, yeah. First of all, and we've mentioned this before, we've got to remember we're living in a physical world. It's it's about duality. You can't, it's that yin and yang and all that kind of stuff people talk about. It's the polarity of two things. One is death, one is life. You can't have one without the other. It's the great journey for all of us, coming in and going out. And it's inevitable. It's been happening for eons beyond I can even imagine.
Right.
It's just part of what's happening here,
Right.
right? And as you mentioned earlier, during this last year, we have certainly been brought into an awareness of, wow, how true that is. That it's people that we've known, loved ones, family, friends, a lot of humanity has lost their dear ones in this pandemic. And it's affected all of us. It always does, because, as we even hold, BioTouch reminds us that we are connected. So everything has an impact on each other, even though we're not, maybe not conscious of that. So this fear of the unknown is what death has brought to us. But I think as humanity rises and the consciousness opens up, we will also begin to remember that, I remember reading years ago that we die to form and we are birthed back into spirit. So it's just the opposite of what we think. Like, oh, we're alive down here.
Right.
Well, not really.
Right.
So here we are, it's right in our faces. We're supposed to have a new awareness about it. And this season is about this resurrecting the love in our hearts. That's really what we're resurrecting. This passion for caring and sacrificing for true life. Death here is, as we've been told many times, is a journey of becoming. It's part of the progression of life itself. So, we always want to bring everything that we talk about back to the field of biotouch and how that holds so many things for us.
Right.
Biotouch, this whole thought form of biotouch, is a way, here we go, a way to go through that passage, go through that journey of life into, well, rebirthing, I will say, not
Right.
death.
It's sort
Yeah,
of like we've heard before, death is not an end, it's just a beginning, another
right.
beginning. And I remember Kenneth Stevenson, who did our research, Dr. Kenneth Stevenson, who actually I just heard from too.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah, her birthday's on we have the same birth date.
Oh, that's right. That's
And
amazing.
so it was neat connecting to her, and she talked about the beginnings of meeting Sister Mary and Saint
Yeah.
Elizabeth of Hungary. And when she did our research, she had done work from birth to death, and she always told me, she said, the first thing in life is touch, and the last sense we have before we check out is touch. And so
That's,
I was like,
yeah.
of course, BioTouch needs to be part of the dying process.
Right, right. Which we were talking before the show. So we have these birth doulas
Right,
that help, with the process of coming into the world. But now we have something called death doulas who help with the transition of going back into another world.
right,
It's an expression and a consciousness in both sides. But I find that very, very interesting because at some level, this tells me that we're beginning to comprehend that this doesn't have to be scary. It's not the ending of everything. It's just a transition into a new way of being.
right.
That's where BioTouch is really important, I think.
And a nice thing that happened last week, Dr. Zach Bush, who we've talked about before, specialist in three fields of medicine, had a 3 hour seminar about this dying and death part and meeting the fear. The greatest part of what we have as a society is the fear of that death. And
Right.
he interviewed other doctors and some death doulas. And so it's inspiring to see that death is becoming part of our dialogue. I think
Yeah,
the
it needs
pandemic
to
helped
be.
us to do that. It
Yeah.
helped us go within and deal with our mortality. And I think having that kind of dialogue is so important. And I think something like BioTouch gives this that opportunity to participate in that process.
And what's really wonderful about BioTouch is it's not just about, us talking, it's about the livingness, while the quality of life, so that, if you're living a life that is painful and stressed out and you're not connected and you're feeling lonely, um that's one thing, but BioTouch can actually, while we're living here,
Right,
BioTouch is part of that. Oh my gosh, it brings such an amazing abundance to the quality of our living. And that's why not, well, that's what's important. It's not the birthing and the dying, it's what we anchor here while we're here. That's
what do you
and
do, right? What do you do
Yeah,
while
and
you're here?
BioTouch is that whole, well, as we know, because Kai just had her baby with a birth
Right,
doula, and BioTouch was there. BioTouch will be part of that livingness, and then BioTouch can be part of the transition
transition.
out. It's a whole complete system, you
And
know?
what'll be nice in that family too is that little child will be learning how to work with mom and dad and
Yes.
empower them to be part of their process of life and death. and
Yes.
and and for children that's so important, to
Yeah,
be part of that. And
definitely.
uh, I did want to share a couple of stories. One, and then we'll talk some more here. Is the first experience I ever had with BioTouch, really on my own,
Mm.
30 something
Scary.
years ago. Yeah, was with this little child in Corpus Christi, and somehow they got hold of Norman and wanted someone to come down and help them with their child who'd had this very bad cancer they'd had for years. I think it was a 9-year-old child. And for some reason, I was the one chosen to go. I just learned BioTouch,
Of course.
And
You
I
were
get,
initiated right there.
yeah, yeah, it was a great initiation of that,
Yeah.
and because I get on this airplane, I fly for hours to get to this town, get there in the middle of the night, Corpus Christi. Somebody picks me up. I get to this family's house, and they take me into this child who, skin and bones, on an
Oh,
oxygen machine,
wow.
totally unconscious,
Wow.
and he had lung cancer, and he'd had it for years, and they have me come down there to heal this young kid. And so I get on the bed and I do the points, and I, you know, leave the child laying there and go out with the parents. And the interesting thing was, this is late at night, we spent the next hour or two talking about this child and what a great service it had brought to humanity, and it brought the community together. People were supporting the child, they were supporting the family, and they really talked about what a light this child brought to the world. And so then we all go to bed, and in the middle of the night, I wake up because I hear the oxygen machine not going, it's just going, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I pop up, and sure enough, they're both in bed with the child, and they said, "Oh, he's not breathing." And so, I get up to do the greeting and all, and you can already tell the child had passed.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the child had passed. The EMTs came. They all leave, and I'm sitting in this house with death.
Yeah.
My first real hands-on experience with it, and I just was flipped out. And so somehow they got me on an airplane. I went home, and I sort of felt like a failure.
Of course.
But it
I get
wasn't.
it.
It wasn't a few weeks later, and they had called me and thanked me so much for coming. That the peaceful transition, the
Oh,
opportunity they all had to sit with me and share his story, that it was more than they could have asked for during that transition, where everybody could just sort of let go and be present in it. The other thing that happened was, it was the first time in weeks he'd eaten something after I worked on him. Yeah, I
wow.
worked on with him, and then he was able to eat a little bit of applesauce. First time he'd been able to put anything in his mouth
Oh my
for weeks.
goodness.
So the transition, it was just this perfect little moment. Wasn't a long
Yeah.
period of time,
Right.
and
What a perfect opportunity for
oh,
you, you know?
it was amazing. It was,
Yeah.
and it just showed me then
That's
how
lovely.
important BioTouch was for families to have.
Well, it's interesting, Paul, because BioTouch, I've said this before, it begins on the skin, on the body, but oh my gosh, the stuff that comes out of that touch. You just talking about being present. This is what we always are talking about. It encourages this self-awareness for each of us, being present and having an awareness of, oh my gosh, this person has brought this, and the community has brought us together. I mean, those are things that we normally don't have an opportunity to really sit with. But in BioTouch, it just opens us up to all possibilities in that moment.
Yeah.
That's one of the gifts of
So
BioTouch.
if you're out there watching us on some of our other formats on Twitch, YouTube, D Live, Nemo TV, you can always contact us at biotouchhealing.com, justtouch.com, or office at justtouch.com, because I haven't learned how to quite go with the comment feeds. But we're on other formats, and we're talking about something important in life, which is dying and death.
Right.
And when you talked about how it reaches a deeper level, we do have another incredible story working with a young man in his 20s. He had brain cancer. Um, the short of this story was, he was the couple had learned how to do this. He had improved getting BioTouch, and they were able to go on a vacation. And the minute they came back from the vacation, he really started to pass on, leave this world.
Wow.
And we went and worked with him 2 times a day. We had a shift, and there was some BioTouch practitioner that went twice a day while he was in hospice. He also had other kinds of modalities, prayer and energy healing, But every time we did BioTouch, every time we did that greeting with him and touched that body, he would let out a sigh. Now he was in a coma,
Yeah.
and nothing else did the body respond to. I mean, all the prayer and stuff, there was nothing happening on the physical
Right.
interaction during this
Right.
transition. But that there was always a sigh.
Yeah.
And within a week or 10 days, the young man did die, and I was blessed to go to the funeral, the memorial, and I'll never forget his wife coming up to me, young lady, saying, BioTouch was the one thing out of all the techniques we were doing that gave us hope.
Mm, I love that.
And we knew that wasn't hope that he was going to live,
Right.
but you talked about that inner thing. There was an inner knowing
Yeah.
that everything was going to be okay. It took away the struggle, it took away the
Mm,
fear, it let them live in the presence of
yeah.
that transition. Incredible
That's
statement.
beautiful.
Yes,
That's to participate in something like that, and just and the what you and the other practitioners were able to participate in.
right,
This is the thing about BioTouch. It's not just for the recipient or the one who's in transition. That's why it's such a perfect relationship.
right.
The person that is giving BioTouch in that journey, oh my gosh, we get just as much,
Yes,
maybe in another way, but it's a true relationship. There's something that we get too.
it's a blessing. It's an
Yeah,
honor. Again, I had
absolutely.
another experience with a woman who was dying that I was working with for years, and I'd go into the room and everybody'd be crying, and I was able to work with her and hang out in the presence with her. There was an awesome feeling to that. And the minute I
Yeah,
would do the greeting on her, everyone stopped crying in the room. It allowed everybody to be present
yeah,
with the
yeah,
transition. So
yeah.
BioTouch, we can only hope that you'll want to incorporate this technique
Oh,
into your protocol with birth, life, and death.
that's right.
And that's why
That's
we
right.
do these shows every week. We
Yep.
always like to make sure we teach something. So we're going to just teach you because allergies is such a big deal while we're in this life.
Ooh, it's time.
So
Oh,
let's
spring.
teach you a little bit about how to do allergies here.
Yeah.
The infection, allergy, and poison sets are three separate sets of points. They all share the same hold point, which is the same as greeting point 1, located in the fleshy area just below the base of the breastbone. As with all sets of points, these may be touched repeatedly. Infections of any kind anywhere in the body may be addressed by holding X and with the other hand touching point 1, which is at the base of the large muscle on the right side of the neck and slightly above and behind metabolism point 1. Allergies or allergic reactions may be addressed by holding X and with the other hand touching point 2, which is on the right side of the neck directly behind metabolism point 3 on the top of the large muscle. To address poisoning within the body, hold X and with the other hand alternately touch point 1 and point 2.
Simple, to the point.
Ooh, right to the point. Hmm.
So really, our goal here, like Bev said, is always to teach BioTouch, to bring everything back to BioTouch. So you can go to our website, justtouch.com. There's all kinds of ways to download sets of points, manuals, uh, health conditions. Check it out if you have questions. Now, we do always have workshops. We have our next workshop coming up with our lovely Eileen Webster. She's a
Yep.
registered pharmacist. She's going to give us some insights into arrhythmia, and then we're going to teach the sets of points on how to work with that. So if you know anybody that has any kind of these heart conditions, especially arrhythmia, contact them. Let them know. It's on April 22nd, 6 p.m. will be live stream. Of course, we'll always have it posted on our YouTube and Facebook pages. And our next virtual training is in a couple of weeks on Saturday, the 17th of April. We still have our little coupon for massage therapists. If they want to get 20% off the $60 cost, just type in massage 20 and you'll get the class. You'll basically get the CE credits for free just by paying the regular price. What a deal. It's a deal. You're a deal. Such a deal. So it's a good thing we only have 20 minutes because we would be talking forever. So.
Well, you would be talking, I could be listening.
Oh, yeah, right. Hey, we appreciate you all letting us into your home, on your TV, in your computer, on your phone. We are infiltrating the airwaves with BioTouch.
Ooh, touching through the cyberspace.
That's right. There we go. Hey, Bev, thanks. Have a happy beginning of springtime here.
Thank you, Paul.
Yes.
Have a great day.
And we'll see you all next week.
Yes, we will.
Keep touching.
Bye.
The infection, allergy, and poison sets are 3 separate.
If pain has got you down and you live in town, take a trip down to Pima Street. The people down there are people who care. They will get you back on your feet. Put love into action. Put love into action. If you ever want to have any real satisfaction, choose love while you still can. Don't even try to understand. A healing grace in your own hands. Put love into action.